Thomas Keller's notebook became the foundation of the Black Hollow legend. But as investigators began reopening forgotten railway records, they discovered something unexpected. Keller was not investigating an active railway. Officially, Black Hollow had already been abandoned. Maintenance operations had ceased. Passenger services had ended. Signal stations had been closed. According to government records, no railway employee should have been anywhere near those tracks in January of 1951. So why was Thomas Keller sent there? And perhaps more importantly, who sent him? That question would remain unanswered for decades. But another discovery would prove even stranger. 3 years before Keller vanished, an entire passenger train had disappeared without leaving behind a single piece of evidence. The date was December 22nd, 1948. Winter had tightened its grip across the mountains. Snowstorms buried roads beneath several meters of snow. Telephone lines froze. Entire villages were cut off from the outside world. Despite repeated weather warnings, railway officials made a decision that would change Black Hollow forever. Night Express number 9 departed Ashcroft Station shortly after 11 that evening. Unlike many ghost stories that begin with mysterious passengers or unexplained strangers, everything about this train appeared perfectly ordinary. Families returning home for Christmas. Railway workers finishing seasonal contracts. A doctor traveling to a nearby town. A school teacher visiting relatives. 3 engineers assigned to inspect mountain tunnels after the holidays. The conductor completed the final head count. 63 passengers. 8 railway employees. 71 people. The station master signed the departure log. The locomotive whistle echoed through the valley. And the train disappeared into the snow. It should have reached Raven's Crossing before sunrise. It never arrived. First, officials assumed severe weather had delayed the journey. Then came the silence. No radio messages. No emergency telegraph. No requests for assistance. Nothing. When daylight broke, rescue crews followed the railway into the mountains. The first signs appeared less than 20 kilometers beyond Ashcroft. A signal post had been bent almost completely to the ground. Nearby trees had snapped under enormous force. Fresh snow covered most of the tracks. Yet something seemed wrong. The rails themselves showed no evidence of derailment. No broken wheels. No scattered cargo. No twisted steel. No shattered wooden carriages. It was as though the train had simply stopped existing. Search teams continued for weeks. Avalanche experts surveyed every nearby slope. Engineers inspected bridges. Divers searched frozen lakes. Helicopters scanned mountain ravines once the weather improved. Nothing was found. Not a single bolt. Not a single suitcase. Not even fragments of broken glass. The official report concluded that a massive avalanche must have carried the train into an inaccessible ravine. It was the only explanation authorities could offer. But there was one problem. No avalanche large enough had been recorded anywhere along the route. Modern geological surveys conducted decades later found no buried locomotive, no collapsed tunnel, no hidden canyon capable of concealing a train weighing hundreds of tons. It had simply vanished. As public interest slowly faded, the case was archived. Boxes of documents disappeared into storage rooms. Witness statements gathered dust. Families accepted that they would never receive answers. Then, in 1964, a railway historian reviewing old maintenance records stumbled across something almost everyone else had overlooked: the final passenger manifest. Most names matched police reports, birth records, employment files, military registrations. Every missing passenger could be identified, except one. Seat 17. The ticket had been issued, but no passenger name appeared beside it. Investigators initially believed it was a clerical error. Yet every surviving copy of the manifest contained the same blank space. One empty seat. One missing identity. No explanation. Even stranger, when officials counted the missing after the disappearance, the total was 72. One more than the train should have carried. For years, researchers debated the mystery. Had someone boarded without purchasing a ticket? Was the final head count incorrect? Or had the railway accidentally recorded one passenger too many? No evidence supported any theory. Then another forgotten document surfaced. It was a personal letter written by locomotive engineer Samuel Rhodes. Unlike official reports, the letter had never been intended for investigators. It had been addressed to the Railway Maintenance Office only days before Night Express No. 9 departed. Most of the letter discussed routine mechanical concerns: boiler pressure, brake inspections, frozen switches. Nothing unusual. Until the final paragraph. Rhodes described repeatedly seeing someone standing beside the tracks during overnight journeys. Not walking. Not signaling. Simply watching. Each time the train approached, the figure vanished into the fog. Railway supervisors dismissed the report as fatigue. Long winter shifts often produced strange observations. The letter was filed away, forgotten, until Thomas Keller disappeared 3 years later. The similarities were difficult to ignore. Both men had worked the same railway. Both had reported unusual activity near the tracks. Both vanished from the historical record. Neither was ever found. By the early 1960s, stories about the ghost train had spread beyond Black Hollow. Most were dismissed as local folklore, until one witness came forward with testimony investigators struggled to explain. Her name was Eleanor Briggs, a farmer who had lived less than 3 kilometers from the abandoned railway her entire life. Unlike previous witnesses, she never approached the tracks. She simply watched from a distant hillside. According to an interview recorded in 1963, She heard the whistle first. Not loud. Not sudden. Just a faint sound drifting through the valley. Moments later, the fog began moving. Not with the wind. Toward the railway. Then, out of the darkness, an old steam locomotive emerged. No sparks. No engine noise. Only steam. It moved silently across rails that had already begun to rust away. As the train passed, she noticed something she would remember for the rest of her life. Every window reflected the moonlight, except one. One passenger compartment remained completely dark. Inside, someone appeared to be standing motionless, looking directly toward her. She never returned to those tracks again. Most dismissed her account, until 15 years later, a photograph changed everything. An amateur railway photographer had spent the winter documenting abandoned stations throughout the region. His camera captured broken bridges, collapsed platforms, snow-covered tracks. Nothing unusual, until investigators developed the final roll of film. In the distance, barely visible through the fog, appeared the unmistakable outline of a steam locomotive. The photograph had been taken in a section of railway that no longer existed. Experts examined the original negative. No signs of manipulation. No double exposure. No photographic defects. Some declared it a trick of perspective. Others quietly admitted they could not explain it. The image remained one of Black Hollow's greatest mysteries. But it would not be the last. When researchers compared dozens of reports spanning more than 40 years, a remarkable pattern emerged. Disappearances, witness sightings, photographs, emergency calls. Every event occurred within the same small section of railway. At the center of every map stood Tunnel 6. Official records described it as permanently sealed following structural instability in 1950. No public access was permitted. No maintenance crews entered again. Or so the records claimed. Because hidden inside a forgotten engineering archive, investigators discovered something deeply unsettling. The original construction blueprints measured Tunnel 6 at 183 meters in length. Modern surveys measured only 167. 16 meters had vanished. No collapse. No reconstruction. No explanation. Just 16 impossible meters, missing from history. What lay behind that sealed wall? A surveying mistake? A forgotten maintenance chamber? Or something the railway had deliberately chosen to hide? For nearly 40 years, no one dared search for the answer, until a group of university students arrived in Black Hollow carrying little more than flashlights, a video camera, and the confidence that ghost stories belonged only in books. Within hours, their investigation would become one of the most disturbing chapters in the history of the Black Hollow Railway.